everybody. Welcome back to the third and final segment of the Cajun Conservative Show today. And I am proud to have in the studio with me another elected official this week. He is State Rep-elect in District 46, Mr. Chad Boyer. Chad, welcome back to the Cajun Conservative Show. This time, not as a candidate, but as State Representative-elect. How you doing?
Good. Really appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed our conversation last time and looking forward to this one.
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be a different this time. You know, last time you were talking about your candidacy and why you decided to run, but this time is all different. You did have an opponent in the race, Mr. Jason, and unfortunately for family reasons, he had to step aside, and that left you the lone ranger in the race, and nobody came up at the last minute to try to come and run against you. So,
right, and we were blessed. 2 years ago when we started this campaign, if someone would have said, hey, you're going to go unopposed, I'd have said, there's no way. Open seat, we kind of anticipated 5 or 6 running. But I've always said we literally put together a team that I truly felt was the best to give us the best opportunity possible. And our plan was pretty simple. We said, okay, listen, we're going to get in front of the 43,000 residents in District 46 as much as possible so that we can listen to them, listen to their concerns, listen to their issues. And we're going to surround ourselves with the best team possible. And I'm going to tell you right now, we would have not been successful like we were if we didn't have the team that we had.
Yeah, and your team was pretty good. Y'all came to one of our church events, and we had a lot of people that came meet y'all guys and talk to you a little bit. And you did tons of cook-offs. You got a good cooking team. I'm going to tell that. I've been to a few of them where I purposely went and stopped at your table. So
we actually, my wife and I sat down the other night. We literally counted, and we in 2 years did 91 cook-offs, events, or benefits in District 46, and like I said earlier, look, it was always my plan. I said, you can't really represent people truly in Baton Rouge unless you get to know them. And on the reverse side of it, I want them to get to know me. So those opportunities, every opportunity we had, we said, look, let's go. We're going to get the opportunity to listen to all these people, let them tell us. And across the board, throughout District 46, the issues are very similar, and there are some differences. I think I said it the first time I came meet with you. The problems in Melville are completely different than the problems in Burbridge. And you're not going to know those problems unless you get out there and sit with those people and give them the opportunity to tell you what their issue is and what their problem is. And that was our goal all along. And listen, our team stepped up time and time again. I could never thank them enough. I could never thank the people in District 46 enough for the hospitality. I mean, they welcomed us with open arms, and we got those opportunities to just sit and visit with them and let them get to know us, and it all worked out for us.
That's awesome. So let's talk about qualifying day, because like we said, it wasn't announced until I think the day before qualifying that Jason Dozier was not going to run. And before that, you're expecting a race. You're expecting, hey, 2 months after qualifying, we're getting ready for October to still campaign, still do that. After you got word that Jason dropped out, were you on pins and needles expecting somebody out of the blue just to show up at the qualifying station and ask, hey, I want to run for state rep?
I think I don't want to say nervous. I think no matter who the opponent was going to be, we had established ourselves. We were in a very good position where we were. And honestly, I think our cooking teams were probably a little disappointed because we had so much stuff scheduled in September and October. And I think in their minds, they thought, okay, well, if Chad goes unopposed, we're not going to do it. Well, guess what? Surprise. We're still doing it.
Awesome.
So there's nothing changed for us.
So I'm getting inside source that I better show up at a couple of cook-offs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will say this. The Thursday was pretty, I was just nervous because I was sitting there going, okay, on the Wednesday we went in, we qualified. Thursday you're sitting there waiting to see what happens. And at the same time, you're, for me, the night before, I'm already thinking about transition. I'm already thinking about, okay, listen, we go unopposed. We're in. What's our next step? We need to get the ball rolling. I've said it from day one. I don't want to waste any time. I want to walk in the first day and go to work. So
right.
You start anticipating that just in case you don't know what's going to happen, and then 4:30 on that Thursday, nobody qualifies, and you're sitting there going, okay, the next phase. Of course, like I said, cooking wise, nothing changes. But you start thinking about the next phase. You start thinking about what you want to do. What are the things that we need to go to work on the quickest? And so that's the last couple of weeks have been about that.
I got you. Has Mike reached out to you, Representative Yuval?
Yes. So Mike and I spoke actually the Friday, very briefly. But again, it's going to be a very easy transition. Mike and I will work well together until he's out and I'm in. So that's going to be an easy transition for us, and just excited, really ready to go to work and do whatever we possibly can to make a difference.
So on that note, getting ready to go to work, 2024 is going to be an interesting time. You're possibly going to have a Republican governor, 1 out of the 5. We don't know who it is. The polls are leaning more towards Landry. Mm-hmm. We have a heated Senate race. We had Mr. Blake Miguez here yesterday. Well, at the time of this recording yesterday, and he talked about his vision, bringing the state more conservative. Mm-hmm. And I know you, Chad. We've talked multiple times, and I know you have a conservative side. Are you going to bring that conservatism to the legislation, because we've had the good old boy system. Mm-hmm. And we're at the bottom of everything good and at the top of everything bad. And that needs to change. So are you going to bring that conservatism to Baton Rouge?
Absolutely. And listen, we have an opportunity of a lifetime upon us. You're going to have a Republican governor. You're going to have a new Speaker of the House. You're going to have a new Senate president. We're going to have a supermajority in the House. I feel it. And so we're going to have an opportunity of a lifetime that hasn't been seen in Louisiana.
But the possibility of a supermajority in the Senate too.
Correct. So I get excited because of the things that, of course we want to do, but I get even more excited because we're about to have a setup that's going to be extremely favorable for the state of Louisiana and what we can do to make things better, to stop being at the bottom, to stop being 50th and everything like we've been for so long. So we're looking forward to that, and we're fortunate that we get to sit back and just watch everything play out, and I truly believe that it's going to play out in our favor, and it's time for us to go to work.
Time to go to work. So still going on that note of bringing conservatism to that, because like I said, this is a different conversation that we had before. I want to ask, what is your plan going in there? And one of those things I've been asking every candidate has sit in that seat or has joined us on the virtual side. I think Louisiana, we have, and look, props to everyone that's running for governor. I think any of them will be better than John Bell or Sam Wilson. But we have 5 candidates in there, Chad. Your race, we had 3 candidates at one point, and y'all all Republicans. And look, to y'all credit, none of y'all badmouth anybody. Y'all stayed on the issues, and thank you for that, because I don't see politicians doing that too much. But I think we're needing to go into a primary system, some type of open primary where us Republicans choose the candidate, or having closed primaries. What are your views on that? And if a bill would come up to do closed primaries, where do you stand on that issue?
I agree. I think we should have the opportunity to elect the Republican that we choose. It's caused us way too many problems in the past. When you look at what we've had the last 8 years and the reason why, it's time for us to go that route.
Yeah, and look, I understand why we came to the current system we have now. It was because Republicans didn't have a chance back in the 80s and the 90s. But now the Democrats figured out a way out to win elections by sitting back and letting Republicans beat up on one another.
Right. And listen, negative campaigning has always been a problem. And I'll tell you right now, traveling throughout District 46, talking to my constituents, one of their biggest things is it turns them off.
Right.
It doesn't work like people think it does. In my opinion, it's a waste of time. Listen, if you truly want to get elected by people, you sell yourself. You go out there, you show them your resume, you talk to them, let them get a chance to know you, and then they simply make a decision. I think everybody wants to make campaigning personal. For me, it's always been, listen, I'm going to pitch myself. I'm going to ask you to interview me for the job. If you choose to, great. If you don't, it's okay. Everybody has their right to vote for who they want to.
Right. And that's the thing. Look, I'm not against. I don't know if we talked about that the last time we used it. I'm not against you saying, like, let's use me for example. If I would run or something like that, you can say, well, look, this is where me and Isaac different. This is what he believes. This is what I believe, and I think my way is the better way. I don't see nothing wrong with that. But if you come out and say, well, Isaac Hayes, he can't talk, he's ignorant, he's stupid, that's where people. That's not campaigning anymore. That's insult. And that's, unfortunately, we've seen that with John Schroeder right now. John Schroeder ran an ad that went against Wags and went against Landry. It's his money. He can do what he wants. But the problem with it is, I don't like that type of campaigning. John's probably different than Wags and Landry. It's just, I think we need a primary system, like you said, where us Republicans get together and say, look, we think this is the best choice, and not lean on the LA GOP.
I agree. I totally agree. I think it's time for us to go to it and let the people decide who the best candidate is on both sides, and then the people make a decision. I've always said this, and I said part of the reason is egos.
Yeah.
What would it be for 4 or 5 guys that want to run for a particular seat to sit down in the room and say, hey, look, how about we simply run a poll? Whoever the top guy is, that's who we're going to run. The problem is egos. You get an ego involved, and well, no, I think I can do better or whatever, and it is. I mean, it's human nature, but it's tough, and it makes it hard on the citizens, and sometimes we don't get the best outcome.
Well, Clay Shake Snyder and I think it's Couson that's what Moon calls him. I don't know if that's his name, but the House Speaker and the Senate floor speaker. That's how they were chosen. The conservatives went one way. They're like, well, we think we should have that spot. So they went across the aisle, and now look at the trouble we got for the last 2 years because we didn't have the right leadership in position to go the conservative way. And that's what's dangerous. You said egos. That was all ego thing. Well, we've been in here longer, and we think we should be the ones in that spot.
And that's part of the issue, too, is that sometimes just because you've been in a position for a long time doesn't mean that you're good at that position.
Joe Biden's a good example.
Prime example. So you also have to look at, okay, listen, just because a guy's coming in, and I'm just going to use as an example, but as a freshman senator or as a freshman representative, doesn't mean that he wouldn't be good in a key role.
Right.
Sometimes new is better. So there's a lot of things that I think we need to look at. There's going to be a lot of interesting things happening. I'm beyond excited about January and seeing what's going to transpire and hoping that everything falls into place like I really think it will, and that we can get some work done.
District 46 has been, unfortunately, put on the back burner a lot of legislative sessions. What do you see in 46 that needs to get done and that you're going to push in in next August, or not next August,
March is the next session.
The next session. What do you see you can go in there and do for District 46?
Well, I think the key is going to be also, like we talked earlier, who your governor is going to be, who your Speaker of the House is going to be, who your Senate President is going to be. Also, what committees you're going to be on. You have to look at all of that comes into play. And normally, you have to, one of the biggest things I always found is that the lack of communication. Reps and senators, all of them have to do a better job of communicating with your constituents. I can't tell you how many times we'll have a conversation with someone and they're complaining about a certain situation, and you go, hold on, but that's not how it is. This is how it works. And they simply don't know how it works because I wish I had a magic wand and could say, okay, I'm just going to touch on roads because that's
right.
What the one thing is. Okay, all these roads are going to be fixed. But when you go to a DOTD meeting and there's $15 billion worth of roads that need to be fixed throughout the state, and your funding is $1.2 billion, and that's not including some other funds, but there's a pretty significant gap. Now, I can tell you this: the new governor coming in is going to have some hard decisions to make because of the fact that what happened last session and the budget at the end.
Spending cap.
So if you do look at the budget, and I'm gonna tell you right now, it's kept me up at night. 2 years from now, we could be in a situation where we really, funding wise, are in a bind. And I said this the other day. I said, for people who don't understand everything that goes on, if you don't have the funding to do it, they simply say, well, he got elected, he didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. The problem is we were put in that situation.
Right.
So the governor's going to have some hard decisions to make. We're going to have some hard decisions to make. But I can tell you this, across the board, I know what the issues are. We're going to do everything we possibly can to find funding to try to fix the roads, of course. But, and I've said it from day one, I truly believe the state of Louisiana is in an education crisis. When you have one student from UL graduating education last semester from our area, we're in a bind. And it's not just teachers' pay. I mean, there's a whole list of things why people don't want to go into education anymore. And it's hard for us to attract business to the state of Louisiana if you don't have people that have the skills or the education to work for those companies. So there's some things that we got to fix, and it's not going to be an overnight fix. I truly believe that we're fixing to have the right people in place that are going to be able to come up with the ideas to fix a whole bunch of things. We're just going to have to back those people and say, okay, let's go to work.
So with that being said, you mentioned something about working with your senator's side. Like we said, we have a heated contest with the Senate. Blake Miguez, Hugh Andre, and 3 other candidates, which I don't even know why they threw their name in the ring. But Blake and Hugh has gotten most of the attention in this race. So one of them, either they're going to go into the runoff and it's just going to be them two, or my prediction, I think Blake is going to win it outright. He got a lot of support. I could be wrong. I've failed in predictions already. But if it is Blake or Hugh, will you have that connection with them or that relationship with them to say, look, this is best for our area. Let's work with this, because they're just not going to have District 46. They're going to have District 49. They're going to have other districts around that area that they're going to have to deal with. But will you go ahead and have a conversation with them, say, look, let's meet on a regular basis to see what's best for our districts?
Absolutely. And listen, so first off, know Hugh and Blake well, and I think both of them would make great senators. I'm actually, where I live, I'm actually in Gerald Boudreaux's district. So Gerald's actually my senator.
Oh, okay.
So the way it falls in District 46, when they did the redistricting, so I'm extremely fortunate because whoever wins for 22, I already got Gerald. I'm going to have them. Senator Klein Peter is up in my northern portion of my district. I'm extremely fortunate.
Hey, you got 3.
How's it going to fall? So I can tell you right now, as soon as that's all done with, I'm going to meet with them as soon as possible and say, okay, listen, whatever I can do to help you in the House, please let me know whatever you can do to help me. You have to have that relationship, and you're going to have that relationship with the rest of your, the Acadiana delegation, for example. So those years that I worked session way back when, I've said it 100 times, you have to realize from the get-go that you're one rep out of 105.
Right.
You can't get anything done unless 53 people vote. So you got to know who is like-minded conservative like you are, and go and say, hey, look, I need help. I need this in my district, and this is what we need. So that's not going to be an issue for us.
And you're going to have, like, I know I'm probably tooting his horn a little bit, but like Blake's been in there for 8 years. So to have a senator that knows what you go through is pretty key as well.
Yeah. I mean, you don't look, and I can't tell you how many reps that have reached out to me. Hey, Chad, if you need something, let me know. I have a really good relationship and friendship with Bo, and you lean on those guys because they do have the experience. Because, listen, you're not going to walk in the first day and know everything. You're not. You're just not. So that the guys that have the experience, that have been there, that you can lean on them and say, okay, listen, when you came across this, what was your situation? And look, it's going to be totally different for us. Again, they had 8 years of a totally different administration. We're going to have a totally different administration. It's going to be different for us.
That's like the freshmen going on with all senior class.
That's exactly right.
So it's gonna be good. One more thing before we go, because we do have an issue with ex-migration. Possibly won't have another congressman. We're gonna have to redistrict ourselves to have a U.S. congressman. It would be sad to lose somebody like Clay or Mike Johnson or somebody like that. How do you briefly mentioned it earlier? How do we fix that? How do we get because look, there is some companies they would love to invest here, but they see the trial lawyers. They see how the state government is with marshlands and stuff like that. How do we fix that?
And honestly, I go back to education. I really think education is the key across the board. I think once we do fix our education in the state, it's going to create other things, other opportunities for us to be a whole lot better off. Insurance is killing us in the state. It is. It's killing us. And I look, and this is a personal experience. As a director of safety for the company, in 2020, Liberty Mutual walked in, looked at us and said, hey, we can no longer insure you. We operate in 6 states. And when I asked why, because we had a good safety record, our workman's comp was good, our auto was good. And when they look at you and tell you you operate in 6 states, but because you operate in the state of Louisiana, we can no longer insure you because the average fender bender in the Baton Rouge area is costing us $100,000.
Wow.
We got to do something different. And listen, tort reform, what was done in the past was not nearly enough. So it starts, in my opinion, look, we got to get better at education. Education can help us across the board, but we've got to do a better job of, one, trying to attract more insurance companies to come in here. Homeowners insurance across the board, anybody you talk to, their homeowners insurance has gone up, including mine. Auto insurance is through the roof. So those are the things that we've got to do, and we've got to do them quick. We can't waste 4 years. We got to do it as soon as we possibly can to not only help the citizens here currently, but to keep people from moving out, to go get a better job in Texas, to go to Florida and get a better job. We got to try to keep our people here. And look, I use my daughter as a perfect example all the time. She's a student at UL, and she is going to get some opportunities once she graduates to go out of state. And she's not. She's staying here, and I'm thankful for that. But I don't ever want to lose her to another state. You know, I want her here. And that is one of our big things that we're going to work on. And I really think with this new administration coming in and everybody that's going to be there, that we'll be able to we'll have a big impact on that.
You think I think Tim Temple is running on opposed, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so look, we got Tim Temple's number. I need to give him a call. I met him already. Real good guy. He's also a conservative. Do you think that's something we were missing in that insurance commissioner spot? Because like I said, Tim Temple, he wanted the job 4 years ago, lost it. Now with the current insurance commissioner retiring, Tim Temple walked in there. Nobody wants that position. That's
a tough position.
Yes.
It really is. I mean, because of the position that we're in, and because of the past, the commissioners in the past, we've had some issues. I think Tim's going to do a fantastic job, and I think he's the right guy, the right fit for all of us that are coming in. And I think we'll be able to make some changes.
That's good. That's good. So, Chad, tell the voters, what your final thoughts on the race going in. If somebody met you on the street, told you congratulations, now what's next? What would be your final thoughts to somebody you're talking to?
I simply tell everybody thank you. I could never tell them thank you enough. The opportunities that we got throughout this whole campaign. I think my wife said it best the other night. She was like, can you imagine how many people we met that we've become really, really good friends with that we would never met on this campaign trail.
Right.
As many nights as sometimes you get home and you'd sit down and say, wow, what a day. And I'll tell you this funny story before we go, but 2.5 years ago when I sat down with my wife and I said I was going to run, she said, listen, Chad, I don't know anything about campaigning. I don't know anything about politics. You just tell me where I need to be. And it was last year. We had 3 cook-offs in the district in one day. And her and I left at 6 a.m. and we got home at midnight. And the next morning, her and I were getting ready to go to mass. And she looks at me, she says, you forgot something. And I said, I forgot something? What are you talking about? And she said, when you told me you wanted to run, you forgot something. I said, what is that? She said, I put in a 12-hour shift in the ER at Women's and Children's. And she said, yesterday we worked 18 hours on this campaign. So, and I told her, I said, that for me, and listen, I love it. I enjoy it. I said that's part of it, and so we have this running joke, about, well, the campaign, you put in more hours than a shift at the hospital. But again, I would just simply tell people, listen, thank you. I'll tell you this right now. Everywhere we went, everybody would always say, man, y'all are everywhere. Y'all working so hard. That doesn't stop. We're going to work as hard as we worked on this campaign in Baton Rouge. I know days there. Look, there's going to be days where we're going to leave the Capitol and we're going to shake our head and say, listen, we had a rough day, but we will never stop fighting for the people in District 46. I can tell you that.
Well, I will say this, and you already know it, but this is a friendship that formed from your campaign as well. That mic's always open for you, and I know you're probably gonna be hearing from me if a bill comes up. So
that's what it's all about.
I got a contact at the house.
That's what it's all about, though. No, seriously, and I tell people all the time. The other day at the brewery for the gubernatorial forum, I told the owner, because they brought up some stuff that had come up, I think either last session or session before, about breweries, and I told him, I said, listen, if that's something like that, look, you're in my district. You pick up the phone and you call me and say, hey, look, this bill's coming up and it's good for me or it's bad for me. Because at the end of the day, listen, it's not about Chad's opinion, okay? It's about the citizens of District 46 is their opinion. And I've always said it, if 50% plus one call me up and say, Chad, this is how we want you to vote, that's how you vote. And you'll never get yourself in trouble that way. It's about those 43,000 residents in your district, period.
That's a lot of work to do, Chad. But you're gonna be. I think you're gonna be up for the challenge, man. You worked it as a state trooper, but now you're gonna be inside
It'll be a little different. It'll definitely be a little different.
Well, Chad, thank you for coming on, man. And again, that mic's always open. And like I said, this is a good friendship. I hope it stays that way.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'll be back.
You'll be back. Hey, that's good. That's good. Chad, thank you for coming on, man.
Appreciate you.
All right, that was Chad Boyer. He is the state representative-elect for District 46. Great guy. Keep him in your prayers. We always say that. Pray for our elected officials. And with that being said, remember that Jesus Christ is King, and He's coming back, and He's coming back soon. So don't be faint of heart, because Jesus has overcome the world. If you want to know Jesus, your Lord and Savior, reach out to us here at the Cajun Conservative Show. The CajunConservative5@gmail.com. We'll tell you how to make Jesus your Savior and heaven your home. That's all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. So until next time, be blessed, be encouraged, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Cajun Conservative Show. You have a good one.
Jesus Christ has risen, and He is